It's a rare occurrence nowadays when members of both political parties chastise the same thing. But it happened here at home. Johnson County Republicans are getting backlash after this display at a party fundraiser last weekend. Several Republicans tried to take a swing or a kick at a dummy dressed up like President Biden. The state Republican Party issued a statement claiming that this was an outside exhibitor who rented a booth to promote their karate and self-defense classes. But in this climate of division and violence, even top-ranking Republicans say this is unacceptable.
We can disagree with one another on policy, but we're all fellow human beings. We never resort to violence in our country because we disagree with one another.
That's Mike Kuckelman, former chair of the Kansas Republican Party. He likens this to the time comedian Kathy Griffin took a picture with a bloody fake replica of President Trump's head and points out Republicans were furious when that happened. Here to discuss this and many other key political headlines, please welcome back Brian Ellison, host contributor with KCUR, and KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney. Let's start with the backlash over this coming from both parties. Again, the state GOP distanced themselves, but this was still allowed to happen. What does this say about the state of political discourse right now?
Right. The state party chair and the county chair said that this was a vendor, a private vendor who had a booth at their event. They weren't in charge of planning it, and that may be the case. When you put on an event, you have to accept some responsibility for the things that happen there, and that's what's coming out now. I think the question, though, Cody, is what does it say? A lot of attention has been given to the party chairs, but what about the people who were doing the kicking and the hitting? I think this is actually a comment on sort of the state of politics, the state of our discourse, and whether this sort of thing is being promoted or prompted by the tone of our political leaders, or whether this is something that can even be fixed through particular actions and responses.
The tone on this is serious. This event that was put on as a fundraiser for the Johnson County Republican Party, not the entire state party, but it was promoted and advertised, and the word was spread about it throughout the GOP messaging organization in the state of Kansas. And it is interesting to see the blowback on this. It's coming not only from folks in Kansas, but in Missouri as well, and some other states. It's definitely not a good look for the Republican Party of Kansas.
And anticipate any repercussions?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be one of those things where people will look at it. Our friend Dave Helling compared this to an event several years ago where there was a rodeo clown in a small rodeo in the middle of the state that had an Obama mask on a dummy, and nothing ever came of that. Nothing will come of this in any sort of sanctions or something like that. But it is a black eye for the party.
Sure. Let's talk about discourse and conservative campaign promises, because we've seen some of the same ones for many years in the legislature in Kansas and in the courts. We've seen some of this theme here. A judge ruled that the state isn't violating transgender rights by refusing to change their driver's licenses to match their gender identity. You also have a movement on a ban on gender-affirming care for minors in Kansas. Of course, that's already passed in Missouri. Important to note, this is all happening during an election year, right?
Right, and this was one of the themes in legislatures in Missouri and Kansas and throughout the United States last session. It emerged as an issue in the 2022 cycle, and now we're seeing it again here in this one. This does not involve that many people, but it's certainly an issue like immigration is this year for the Republicans. It's a galvanizing point for voters.
Right. I think the Republican Party has identified this as an issue where they might actually have some agreement from moderates.
Yeah,
a broad cross-section of people are willing to go down this road and talk about gender-affirming care, even though, as you said, Michael, it only affects a very small percentage of the population, and in fact, a vulnerable percentage of the population, a population that says it's hurt by even the discussion of these laws, much less the 20 or so states that have passed this legislation. Kansas held out primarily because of the veto of Governor Laura Kelly last year. We'll see if that veto can be sustained this time around. She surely will veto anything that passes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's talk about another veto and flat tax, because that is also another Republican campaign promise in Kansas. Are we seeing any movement there?
There has been movement over the past week. There is a second attempt. You will recall that very early in the session, lawmakers passed a flat tax proposal. Governor Kelly quickly vetoed it, but they're coming back, and they've tweaked the numbers. One has to think that legislative leaders in Kansas have, in tweaking those numbers, are trying to win over the last remaining votes they would need to override the governor's veto. She says she's still opposed to a flat tax, says that's not the way to achieve economic equity and and to support state programs. We'll see what happens. We have not heard lawmakers come out yet and say that they've changed their mind, or the ones who voted against it last time are going to vote for it this time, but there does seem to be movement.
And the thing to remember about this is in Kansas, they have a shorter, actually much shorter legislative session, and they are coming up on the first adjournment here in not too many days. Then they'll pause and come back, so they can either try to run something here in the final days of the regular session or slide it over into their wrap-up session. But they, clock's ticking.
That's right, and Governor Kelly has called this a non-starter, so we'll see what happens. Michael Mahoney, Brian Ellison, thank you.